Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hajim Becoming series, where we explore the deep truths and the principles that will enable you become what you were created to be, to do, and to have. My name is William Awana, and I'm here with my very lovely co-hosts, Lady in Red.
Always a pleasure to be a part of these conversations, trying to understand what African entrepreneurs are doing, preferring local, global, national, intercontinental solutions across the broad spectrum of engagements.
Excellent. So, in today's conversation, I want to really kick things off with a concept that, in my experience, is not being sufficiently talked about, and that's the subject of critical thinking, right? Which I think is very critical, for entrepreneurs to think about. And why do I say that? It's because in this part of the world, when we're talking about business operations, or when people say that they have X business or Y business, or they want to start a business, when you talk to them, on the average, most of them are actually just doing what is called a dummy corporation. They're copying the neighbor, right? They see somebody who opened a hairdressing salon, for instance, and this person is making some cool money, and then the next thing you want to do is to copy his idea and to run with it, right? Whereas you might be sitting on something that is actually a lot more valuable. And we've said that the problems that are facing Africa today are so germane that it requires people who are thinking in a specific way to come up with solutions that address these issues, the issue of poverty, the issue of gainful employment, the issue of poor healthcare, infrastructure, all of those things. So it's going to require a lot of us thinking critically, not just about what the problems are, but what we have that we can proffer as solutions.
Absolutely.
And I'm very glad that in the studio here today, we have two very great entrepreneurs who, in their various ways, are bringing up different things that are going to help us in some form or the other to tackle these problems.
I think it's about social impact engineering. It's about marketing innovation. It's about entrepreneurship in an emerging economy like ours. And I think this two have decided to, take the stage, prefer the solution, bearing the institutional void and not minding if there's anyone who's going to be there to give them a leg or a foot forward. So, nature, nature's glory. You've been around the globe. We've been around Africa. We follow you a lot, and we see what you're doing. You're big on the internet as nature's glory, and I would like to know more. What does this do? I see you travel a lot to trade fairs, marketing your products and driving export relations and all of that. The same product, same share butter. What's the difference? What's this thing about nature's glory, cutting and going across Africa trying to do this?
Okay, thank you so much, Brown.
Absolutely.
My name is
Marie Itekak. I'm a biochemist, a skincare formulator, a skin dehydration, a food dehydration expert, and an export consultant. Now, I make this product that I discovered are actually needed, not just not just in Akwa Ibom states, not just in Nigeria, but actually even outside the country. In Africa, in UK, in America, we've sent this product to different parts. So I took advantage of the opportunities with the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. They support businesses in Nigeria to attend international trade fairs to showcase products, locally made products produced in Nigeria. So I use that opportunity to, of course, talk about the amazing things we are doing here at Nature's Glory Limited.
Amazing stuff. Sometimes people don't think that federal government agencies are in check, are working, but that's a good one there. You see NEPC doing that. Although we're not marketing them here, but they're doing a great job. So it shows that these things are working, because sometimes entrepreneurs actually think that, or business people in business invariably think that some of these agencies set up for these concerns are not being attended to. Sometimes you ask some entrepreneurs, do you know CAC? They don't know. Do you know agencies, supporting agencies? You know, they don't know. The question is, how do you want to solve a problem or prefer a solution when you do not know or you map your ecosystem?
The ecosystem.
How does that even work? Because it's not going to work. You say you're a startup. Do you know EDPs, for an example, or EDCs, for an example? That is Enterprise Development Centers, for an example. Do you know any of them across Africa? You don't. You know, you say you're an entrepreneur. Do you know the agencies that are involved in pushing stuff out there for you?
Absolutely.
You know, licensing. Do you know about taxation? Do you know about insurance?
So it's very funny, right? Because we keep on complaining that, we're Africans, we have value, we have things to bring to the table, the world should hear us and all of that. But I'm saying, calm down. Compare yourself to the average entrepreneur in Europe or America, right? First of all, it's not necessarily about the environment, although of course you can't rule that out. It's more a function of mindset.
Absolutely.
How do they think? They're not thinking about producing something that they're just going to sell for people around the corner.
Absolutely.
They're looking at the next country. They're looking at the next continent. They're looking at where they can export their goods and services to across the globe. But leading me back to the question I had in mind when I first heard Glory talk about what she's doing, right? If we're taking a critical look at these products that we have here, we have honey, we have black soap, we have shea butter, etc. Now, it's obvious that these things are not just things we're seeing here today. They didn't just fall from the sky yesterday, right? So what exactly have you been able to do to not just harness these things, but to be able to have a footprint? Whereas these things are also surrounding so many other people.
Absolutely.
But they're doing, or they can't even see the value that is inherent in these things. And even go the step further to say, how can I even export these things? So what has been your mindset journey like? What propelled you to not just think about how to develop these things, but also how to even export them to other parts of the world?
Okay, growing up, I grew up in an environment where, everywhere is natural. My dad actually loves very natural things. So and then we have turmeric, for example, growing in our houses. We have thyme, we have curry leaves, we have noni, so many fruits, so many oranges, so many things. And during my master's program in biochemistry, I was exposed to shea butter. I was using it for my hair, I was using it for my skin, and I realized I didn't need any other cream during that period. My skin was so perfect, and I was like, just shea butter could do this for me. I started making creams out of the raw shea butter. I gave it to other people, and the results were amazing. I started developing interest. Coupled with my biochemistry background of skin cancers, infertilities, what synthetic harmful chemicals can cause in the long run, I decided to actually go into natural skincare formulation, natural products in general. And it's really, really been amazing because I started by advocacies. I started telling people what natural products can do. I started telling people why you actually need to consume these natural substances in their purest form. I started telling them why bleaching is dangerous, because even if you're going to the hospital to get your treatment, your skin will not heal for the next 5 to 10 years because you have a bleached skin. So these things actually goes just beyond just, at the surface level, even internally. So I decided to take this a step forward. It's not been easy, trust me. I started from the beginning, I started from the scratch. I started with nothing. I started with less than 5,000 naira.
Wow.
With an idea I had. I started with the cream, shea butter cream, and then we, went ahead to make the soaps, the coconut oil. And since I have a global mindset, I know that my products are not just actually going to just stop here. I started researching, I started finding out what I needed to do by registering with Nigerian Exports Promotion Council for exports. I also had to register my business, my company at a point when we could no longer operate as an enterprise. We need to upgrade to a limited liability company, We are also registered with United States Food and Drug Administration, US FDA. That actually means that we can export any of our products to US certified. So we had to do all of those licenses and certifications just to be at the global spots.
Great job, great job. So you talk about new markets, new trends, and there's a thing about brand trust in Africa. So I know that when you go across Africa, East Africa, the rest of those places, they love Nigerian products in terms of the skincare and all of that, and what we're able to do is just a new thing, that kind of thing. So what has that journey been for you? Because even for some other products, right, they don't get to patronize, for an example, but for some they do. And then that whole journey of traveling across fairs and how it works in terms of exchange. How does that work?
I have been to Togo, and one thing I realized there is I always tell people Nigeria is blessed. I mean, no matter wherever I go to, I tell people Nigeria is blessed. We have a lot of these resources. And the the perception they have about us is that we have what they need. When you go to international trade fairs, one of the stands, exhibition stands, pavilions they'll go to is the Nigerian stand. We write it so boldly, this is Nigerian stand. So they always are eager to come to where Nigerian stand is because they know they will have assorted varieties. Wow. And they know that when it comes to quality, it is actually, top rated.
Great.
So we do not have issues marketing, actually.
Absolutely.
I'm convincing them that this is something interesting happened at Togo. I sold the products to a customer and she was like, I hope you're not just hyping. I hope you're not just selling. I hope you're not just trying to encourage me to buy. And I told her, no, if you buy this product and you don't like it, come back. I'm still here to the end of the fair. And she told me she wants to distribute. I said, fine, go ahead and use them. She came back a few days to the end of the trade fair and she told me, I hope you have not sold out because I want to buy everything.
Wow.
I want to start selling right away. Wow. All the products, because she actually got one of them each, and all of them are so good on my skin and even my siblings, and I want to start selling. She is our distributor currently in Togo.
It's amazing.
The same thing happened in Gambia. People always come to Nigerian stand to look for food products, to come look for skincare, artwork, just name it, everything. So when they come there and they find out, they see varieties and the rest of them, at first, as a human, they want to test maybe a small size during the beginning of the fair. Most times, the trade test takes like 3 weeks or more. So in a space of 2-3 weeks, they've seen what they actually need. Yeah. And before the end of the trade fair, they'll come back buying those big sizes. That's what they do.
So it's very clear typical. That there's an appreciation and brand trust across Africa. Generally, that's what it means. It's an appreciation. It also has an underlining on our agencies. That means they're doing a great job.
Yes.
For us to be able to start trusting, because prior to this time, some years back, it was only Ankara. That we could actually, we like the one from Tanzania, we like the one from, several other places. But now it shows that there's a lot of brand trust, appreciation, and stuff going around that border.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to take the conversation further from there, one of the issues that we're having in Africa, compared to a place like US, is that the beauty of the US is that the economy is interconnected, right? You can move or you can produce a product or a service in the East Coast of the US, and you can export it to the West Coast without even paying any form of duty, right? But here, you can't do that. You can't take it from Lagos to SA. You can't do that because we don't have those the infrastructure in place. Can we have a direct railway line, for instance, that moves from Lagos to SA and interconnects? That is why it's called the United States of America.
And just when you started and you talked about critical thinking, I remember that sometime back Elon Musk would say, a particular day he said it was a boring day. And so when it was a boring day, he decided to do something boring. And then he was able to come up with that company called Boring Company. You understand? Why wouldn't we have a tunnel that could take us from UK to US, and it's just that kind of straight thing? So you just hop into this like a flight, or hop into it like some kind of lift. and then you press a button, you understand? And then once you press that button, you appear in US. All the way from UK in just a few so I think it's really interesting.
So one more question from me before we move on to our other guest who is raring to go. Right, you were talking about the impact that you're able to have in a relatively short period of time by going to West African economies, showcasing the beauty of the Nigerian products that we have, etc. And I recall that you said you started with less than 5,000 naira. Now, my question is, because if you look at the stats of the Nigerian economy, like I do frequently, and you're looking at unemployment, for instance, you can see that the figures are very damning. But here is somebody who had particularly zero, because if we're talking about the value of the naira, as it were, and you're looking at less than 5,000 naira, who has been able to move from that point
to where you are
this point and is still growing, right? And you didn't succumb to the popular narrative of there are no jobs, what are we going to do? The sky is falling on our heads. How would because I'm putting you on the spot, as it were, and there are people out there who are watching and they're saying, okay, how was she just able to do it? Zero funding. How did she make that journey? Because funding is a very critical part of the entrepreneurial journey,
ecosystem,
right? You can have the best idea in the world, but if there's no money behind you speaking, your idea will fizzle out very quickly. So what did that journey entail? Just take us through that.
The first year, actually it's 5 years now. The first 2 years was really, really, really tough because I did not have any money. And what I did was, I still do till now. Every money that is generated from the business goes back into the business. Wow. I did not understand what it meant, pay yourself, because there was even nothing left to pay myself. I mean, I started with less than 5,000, so how much will I now pay myself with? And especially because it's production, manufacturing, you actually need a lot of things to get a product on the shelf, You actually need the coconut, you need the machines, you need the raw mat, you need everything. So how much actually will you need? You always need a lot of money at every given time to do a lot of things. So what I did at the beginning was I was putting in every money I got from the business back into the business. And I was doing borrowing. My dad, my mom, my siblings, my friends, I would just call someone I need this, and immediately they give me, the whole money goes into that project. And when I make sales, I try to pay back no matter how it is in bits. So that's what I was able to do before I started having some external support. People want to support what they can see. Absolutely. If you don't put in your funds, if you don't do your part, nobody will bring in theirs. Absolutely. So I started getting one or two support from, external sources, and we're able to start getting some hand mixers, soap mixers, grinders, food dehydrators, because we also do dehydration services. We have a lot of dehydration things we do too, and grinders and a lot of other things. And like you said, there's really no job. We train others. That's why we train people. We've done a lot of trainings. We've trained students from University of Uyo at the GST level. We've trained up to 100. Currently, we are training another 50. Currently, we trained last year 50 of them. I've also trained students at Pamo University of Medical Science in Rivers State. It's a private university. I go there to train them, still on the entrepreneurship training. We also train students on internship, 6 months industrial attachment. They stay with us for 6 months, do their IT, and they go. And then we also train students, people, individuals, organizations, anywhere. I mean, we come there, we train you. Our marketers, we have marketers in sales reps in Bielsa, we have in Abuja, we have in Sierra Leone, we have in Togo, and then currently in Gambia. So we empower these people by giving them our products to sell. I mean, that's a way to encourage the young people. So you don't just go sit down and say there is no job in the country.
Absolute great job. Wow. Wow, that's an amazing revelation.
Very amazing. And I'm so glad that she took time to talk about it, because somebody out there is wondering how he or she can do the same thing, and you've just given them the answer.
She can move from 5,000 naira to Gambia, to Togo, to Sierra Leone, you know what I'm saying?
To 6 or 7 digits.
You know what I'm saying?
So it also recalls to mind something I heard Denzel Washington say, right? And he said something, I think in a movie or so, he said, some of the time you have to do what you or you need to do what you have to do before you can do what you want to do.
Wow.
You know, and I think that's the mindset that we need to start appreciating, you know, before we get to the level of the pantheon of where we want to be.
So you have to do what you have to do
before you
do what you want to do. Wow, right back to you. So tell us about what you're doing. We hear you're doing great stuff in the IT sector. Can you tell us about it?
My name is Idongasit Basi of the ID Basis Up Enterprise. We do digital marketing. That's the brand. So over there, we do business profiling. We do creating of logos, content creating, and management of company or brand pages. We work with about 5 companies currently managing their social media handles, and we have been doing that amazingly. I have people I work with team.
You're growing people, you're training.
Sure.
So what has the journey been?
Okay.
We know, I mean, invariably that digital space has a lot of transdisciplinarities, and people have gotten from just being social, digital strategists, web designers, to content makers. Content makers, interestingly, are different from content marketers. You understand? And monetization has become the real deal. Lots of people are doing a whole lot around that digital space. So what aspects of digital engagement are you big on?
As I said earlier, I'm not doing it alone. I have a team. So the team, I have a staff that do web designing. I also have someone that do graphic design. So I do the writing part of the business.
Wow.
And we are doing
So that's a complete
content
digital
development.
content development, digital media space. Great. So how's the journey been for you? How did you start? Did you start with 5,000 also? Yeah. Let's know this 5,000 game thing.
We started that's about 3 years ago. I would say it was quite challenging. I used to do writing for pages, businesses, without even their consent, freely.
Wow.
Over time, I think over a year, before people started coming in and requesting to work with, calling for my services. I've been seeing what you have been doing for Mr. A, and it's amazing. So I want you to do the same thing for us. I was like, okay. That was where I started mentioning money for people. Things I used to do for free, I started getting being paid for those things, and I would say that I'm so happy that the things I do out of fun and passion, I'm getting paid for those things.
Great.
And I have a community person that I do talk to on business, entrepreneurship, how to start up business, how to monetize your business, and how to profile your business on social media.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because and over time I've been engaged on projects, schools to come talk to students on how to do their school activities and how to also manage their businesses without much challenges. Which
it's been great.
Yeah,
It's
great,
very
sure.
interesting because alternative education is a very big part of education.
Yeah.
We have some policies on education that has not enabled other activities of the average child.
Yeah.
And you want to begin to consolidate on the frames that will explore the latent potentialities of that child. And so having to have IT trainings in schools and all of that, I think it's a big part of what our policymakers should engage. Arts and crafts, digital business is big. So it's pretty expansive, like we said earlier. So, and I saw that you were talking about yours too, when you had to post and post and post. And it's not about the traveling; it's about the posting on social media too, because we get to see what you do.
Yeah.
And at some point I asked, why are you doing dehydration?
Yeah.
And at some point I noticed that lots of people responded to Nature's Glory on her handle concerning, I mean, they actually made a lot of inquiries on our handle for the hydration of stuff. So can you talk more about how digital media has also expanded your business and all of that?
Sometime last year, about a year now, we got, not even up to a year, we got a dehydrator, a food dehydrator.
Right.
And what actually propelled me to get the food dehydrator was because we used to sun dry. And when we are producing coconut oil, we have to sun dry the chaff to use it to do something else. At the end, we won't be able to use it because it smells bad, the color changes, microbes get to infect, flies and the rest. So there was actually a need. And because we process things like turmeric and the rest of them as raw materials for our skincare production, we needed a food dehydrator. Though expensive, very expensive, but we had to, get that. So when we got that for our, factory use, I felt, we could extend this service to others. Mm-hmm. There are other SMEs, businesses, individuals who probably would need to sun dry. And that was actually during the rainy season. So we came online and we told them we have a food dehydrator. We can dehydrate whatever you bring for us. And we didn't just stop at dehydration. We went as far as grinding. Wow. So let's say you have plantain, you have ripe plantain, you have plantain unripe, whatever. You have beans, you want us to dehydrate for you. We can actually convert it to plantain flour. So we came online and we started talking about, people did not even know that such a thing actually exists. And people love to, every day I made it as a point of duty to make a post about food dehydration. And at a point, one thing I noticed was, anywhere on Facebook, they say, who can dehydrate something for me? It's not somebody. Everybody will just, because I was the one talking about it every day.
Absolutely.
And we started having lots of, at some point, even had more customers that we could handle at a time. We'll book you for tomorrow.
Yeah, the power of social media.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's interesting, right? That an idea, just a single idea, a small idea that pops into your head one day, can expand and can develop so many branches.
Amazing stuff.
Thing. Because you just started out with, okay, let me see what I can do with these things that I have here. And before you could blink an eye, you've already started talking about food dehydration, this, that, and the other, right? So I think as a pointer to people that, when you have an idea, think of it as a seed. Anytime you hold a seed in your hand, factually, right, you're looking at one small tiny seed. But in that seed is the container of not just a tree with fruits, but a forest. Because once that seed goes in through a process, it multiplies. So all the potential of a forest starts with a single seed. You don't know the value of the idea that you have until you explore it and it begins to grow in your hand, right? But lead me back to ID, because he was talking about a couple of things around his business, web design and all of that. And, because we're looking at a situation where things are getting technology driven very rapidly, extremely rapidly, right? And if you're looking at things like logo designing and all of that, if you're looking at places like Europe and America, and the trend is gradually beginning to come here, where things like logos, as an example, are just being designed by a system, right? There's no actual human interface there. You just, for instance, someone was telling me that you just plug in your idea. Okay, this is my brand name.
Yeah.
It's now bring up like 10 different progressions of that field. Choose. It will design logo. It will design letterhead. It will design, So having to leverage the power of technology and artificial intelligence, right, versus training people, to develop competencies in that, sooner or later we're going to see a divergence. So what things do you think you can put in place? Because if you're focusing people on one stream, by the time that stream dries up,
those advantages,
those advantages, will also dry up. So how do you intend to, bridge that gap
nexus,
and also expand the capacities of people that you're working with?
we've noticed it that there are some program app that once you key in maybe the name of your brand, so many things will come out. Then you choose the one you wish to go with. So I have stand out as a brand of my own to do something different, a business different from the other business I'm doing, which is the business profiling, logos, and the rest of them. So currently, I do real estate agency. I've worked with about 4 estate in Uyo. I believe God with time I will get to where I believe I'm supposed to go be.
So basically, you're growing the community to be able to drive action in that area you're talking about, digital services,
Yes.
digital media services, conversational commerce, as it were,
Finding different expressions.
and finding different expressions in those in the transdisciplinarity we talked about. Going back to what our uncle said, you know, it's amazing when you look at ideas and how you proliferate across a frame that is not normal. I used to say the person who actually discovered electricity would not believe that the person doing the bulb today would be getting more money than he got. I'm not sure they had to pay him $50 trillion for an example, but that ideology, that discovery, as it were, was put in use, and it's beautiful. And also, when you consider sectors like the media sector, for an example, you want to consider, how did somebody believe that someone would have to be in a room and you have to start loving the whispers in the night, and it's supposed to be a radio, and soon you're supposed to know the name of the person, you're supposed to love the OAP, for an example, and soon you'd have to call out if you have to do call sessions, for an example, and it becomes a radio engagement. How does that even work? Someone is somewhere currently right now talking to a system, and you're supposed to listen to that person by tuning into a frequency. You know, such a wild ideology that is supposed to also translate, you know, into the economic frame of being an enterprise and churning out into an industry. How do you even imagine that from news that you did not curate, you can make money? And that from news that you have, it's long, because when you talk about, even the OAP has to be paid money. The person writing has to be paid money. You understand, in the full media house, for an example, and then it goes to the radio, and then it goes to the print, and then it goes to the stream, the streams, for an example. And so that idea proliferation continues like that until it becomes something that we now say controls the financial market. How did we ever know that from an idea, media would control the flow of action in the economy, the media, the financial markets, and all of that? So there's a lot of power. You know, we see power in an idea, because it can really churn out into something that you can never imagine. So for me, I always say that one idea is worth trillions of dollars, pounds, etc., as it were.
So, which is another interesting point that I had sort of pondered on earlier. I was looking at the list of the wealthiest individuals per Forbes magazine. You know, Forbes magazine, they regularly come up, I think, on an annual basis, the richest people in the world. So I was just having a glance. I think this was 2020. I was having a quick glance through, so they'll put the name of the person, the business, the business industry, and then the net worth. So you see someone like Elon Musk, for instance, this, that, and the other. $71 billion dollars or whatever. Then I was just going down the list, and I saw one guy. I can't quite remember his name now, but he's an Asian fellow. Guess what his business was?
What?
Pig breeding.
Wow.
Pig breeding. He breeds pigs. Yet his net worth was in the billions of dollars. So when people talk about there's no money in this idea or in this business, it's not the business that's the issue. It's the person. How can someone be on the list of the richest individuals in the world through pig breeding. There's something that he has seen in that business
Yes.
that he has deployed his mindset
Absolutely.
to, and is making him billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You're sitting on the potential gold mine and you're saying there's no money in the idea. So we started out this session by talking about critical
thinking. Absolutely.
and this is exactly what is playing out.
Absolutely. Great job, everyone. You're doing an amazing stuff. It's an amazing session so far. We'll be checking in on our Zoom model mentor today. But before we go, we would love to listen to one word from Nature's Glory to the average African entrepreneur or the average global entrepreneur, because she's global. I mean, I heard her. And she's got a lot of energy, and I'm sure she's going to share that energy with you today.
All right, thank you.
I would just say to our entrepreneur out there, anywhere you are in the world, to be very focused and consistent. It is one thing to have the idea. It is one thing to want to make a difference, but it's another thing to actually be focused and consistent. It is one thing that will take you out there and make you stand out and unique, because in the world where every other person is doing what you are doing, it's consistency that will place you out there. Also, you have to be very, improve, spend money, invest in self-development. If you're thinking global, if you're thinking, conquering outside your country, outside your domain, you actually need to invest in knowledge. Sacrifice for your business. It's not going to be easy. It's not a walk in the park. Business anyway is not easy, especially where funding is involved and several other factors. You have to be ready to sacrifice, and you can stretch. Ask for money, ask people, collaborate, partner. Look for people who have interest in what you're doing and see how you can grow from there.
Great job. ID?
Okay, to our fellow entrepreneurs out there, my advice would be that you should just know your values. Who are you? Who do people see you to be? And who do you intend to be in the next 2-3 years? You should be focused, be consistent. Then just do what you feel you have passion for. Thank you.
Thank you very much.